This is not just the end of Leah. This could be the beginning of an absolute bloodbath. I'm telling you right now, everything we thought we knew about this nightmare has completely exploded. The walls are closing in. Trust is dead. And the closer Jacob gets to the truth about the Impaler, the more dangerous this entire situation becomes. This is no longer a simple criminal investigation. This is war. Psychological war. Emotional war. Survival war. And honestly, I don't think Leah is making it out of this alive, because the signs are everywhere. The fear, the desperation, the timing, the silence surrounding the Impaler. It all feels wrong. Terrifyingly wrong. Leah's final appearance supposedly happens this week, and if that information is true, then we are heading straight toward a devastating and brutal conclusion. But the biggest shock of all is this: Ren may have been telling the truth. Leah genuinely might not know who the Impaler really is. Think about how insane that is for a second. She destroyed lives. She became entangled in horrifying crimes. She crossed lines that can never be uncrossed. And yet she may have been nothing more than a pawn. A disposable weapon being manipulated from the shadows by a monster far more calculating and savage than anyone imagined. That changes everything. Because if Leah truly doesn't know who the Impaler is, then she's about to suffer the ultimate punishment for crimes connected to a mastermind she can't even expose. Decades in prison, a ruined future, a life destroyed forever. And the tragedy here is brutal because for the first time, I actually think Leah understands the horror of what she helped create. You can see the regret eating her alive, but regret means nothing in a world ruled by monsters. And that's why the hospital situation feels so terrifying to me. Because hospitals in stories like this, they're never safe. Never. Leah lying there, injured, weak, handcuffed to a hospital bed, that image alone is disturbing. One arm bandaged, the other chained down. Guards outside, no freedom, no escape, no control over her own fate. She's trapped like an animal waiting for judgment. But here's the thing that makes my blood run cold. Villains like the Impaler always adapt. Always. You think handcuffs stop evil? You think hospital security stops a killer who's been operating in the shadows this entire time? Absolutely not. And the moment Leah becomes useless, she becomes a liability. That's the terrifying truth nobody wants to admit. If Leah suddenly remembers something, if she hears a voice, if she discovers even one clue about the Impaler's identity, then she instantly becomes dangerous to the organization protecting him. Dangerous people get silenced. Fast, brutally, permanently. That's why I believe Leah is standing on the edge of death right now. And then comes the explosive part of this entire storyline, Jacob versus Ren. This is where the tension becomes unbearable. Jacob is making a calculated move. He's choosing to approach Leah instead of Ren. And honestly, I completely understand why. Ren is chaos incarnate. Ren is the kind of man who walks into a room and poisons everything around him. He's manipulative, cruel, unpredictable, and dangerously intelligent. If Ren ever gets out, the destruction would be catastrophic. Jacob knows it. We know it. Even the characters know it. Ren doesn't feel remorse. Ren weaponizes pain. But Leah is different, broken, guilty, emotionally shattered. There's still humanity left inside her, even after everything that's happened. And Jacob sees that weakness as an opportunity. This is Jacob versus Leah. Truth versus fear. Redemption versus destruction. Jacob is trying to strike a deal. He wants testimony, information, clues, anything that can lead him closer to the Impaler. And honestly, these scenes could become some of the most emotionally explosive moments we've seen in a long time. Because imagine Leah sitting there in that hospital bed, exhausted, terrified, barely holding herself together while Jacob pushes harder and harder for answers. What if she finally breaks? What if she starts confessing everything? What if she remembers something critical at the worst possible moment? That's when the nightmare truly begins. Because I do not trust the silence surrounding this hospital, not for 1 second. The possibility that someone disguises themselves as a doctor is absolutely horrifying. And honestly, it sounds exactly like the kind of twisted move the Impaler's side would make. Calm, professional, invisible, deadly. Can you picture the scene? Because I can. And it's terrifying. A fake doctor quietly enters the room. No panic. No warning. Just cold precision. Leah notices something strange too late. Maybe the voice sounds unfamiliar. Maybe the body language feels off. Maybe instinct kicks in. But by then, it's already happening. A syringe, a needle, poison entering her bloodstream. That is nightmare fuel. Absolute nightmare fuel. And what makes it even more brutal is the fact that Leah would be helpless. Completely helpless. One injured arm, one hand chained to the bed. She can't fight back. She can't run. She can't defend herself. All she can do is scream. That image alone is haunting. Imagine Leah realizing in real time that she's being murdered while alarms scream in her head and nobody comes fast enough to save her. That is the kind of scene that changes an entire show forever. And this is where Jacob becomes critically important. Because if Jacob keeps visiting Leah, constantly pressuring her for information, there's a chance, a very slim chance, that he could interrupt the attack at the last second. And honestly, that possibility creates insane suspense. Picture the cinematic chaos for a moment. Jacob walking toward Leah's room, the hallway quiet, too quiet. Then suddenly, screams. Jacob bursts into the room. The fake doctor panics. Leah is collapsing. Machines start going insane. Tell me that wouldn't be one of the most explosive moments this storyline has ever delivered. This is what I mean when I say everything is escalating into total chaos. Every scene feels like it could end in death. Every conversation feels loaded with danger. Nobody is safe anymore. And while all this madness is unfolding, another emotional war is exploding somewhere else entirely, Donnell versus Joey. This conflict is fascinating because it's built on paranoia, grief, and suspicion. Donnell is angry, furious, actually, and for good reason. Doug's death continues to cast a dark shadow over everyone connected to this story. The pain hasn't disappeared. The questions haven't disappeared. If anything, they're becoming more toxic by the day. So Donnell finally confronts Joey directly. And this confrontation matters because Donnell is starting to realize something terrifying. Deanna may have been right all along. That realization changes the emotional dynamics completely. For a long time, Donnell resisted those accusations. He didn't want to believe Joey could be involved. Maybe because trusting Joey felt easier than facing the horrifying alternative, but doubt is creeping in now. Slowly, aggressively, like poison. This is Donnell versus Joey. Trust versus deception. Truth versus manipulation. And Joey once again denies everything. Calmly, repeatedly. Firmly, he claims he had nothing to do with Doug's death. But here's my problem. The more someone repeats their innocence in a storyline like this, the more suspicious it starts to feel. Maybe Joey is innocent. Maybe he's lying through his teeth. Maybe he's protecting someone even worse. That uncertainty is what makes this storyline so effective. But the truly tragic part is that Donnell probably won't get real answers. Unlike Deanna, he doesn't hold his ground with the same ruthless conviction. Deanna is emotionally unshakable when it comes to Joey. She trusts her instincts. She refuses to back down. Donnell still hesitates, still doubts himself, still wants to believe there's another explanation. And that hesitation could become a massive mistake. Because in stories like this, hesitation gets people destroyed. What if Joey really is hiding something? What if Doug's death is connected to a much larger conspiracy? What if the Impaler's influence reaches farther than anyone realizes? That possibility changes the entire atmosphere of the show. Suddenly, every interaction feels dangerous. Every smile feels fake. Every secret feels lethal. And honestly, I think we're approaching a turning point where the truth will start ripping relationships apart permanently. Because once secrets begin surfacing, there's no going back. If Leah talks, people fall. If Leah dies, the truth may die with her. If Jacob fails, the Impaler wins. That's the terrifying reality of this situation. And I can't stop thinking about one horrifying possibility. What if Leah's death is designed to send a message? Think about that. What if eliminating Leah isn't just about silencing her? What if it's psychological warfare aimed directly at Jacob? A warning, a threat, a declaration that the Impaler is always watching, always one step ahead. That would be absolutely savage. Because Jacob already carries the pressure of trying to stop this nightmare, but witnessing Leah die right in front of him, that could emotionally destroy him. It could push him into obsession, rage, recklessness. And when investigators become emotional, they make mistakes, deadly mistakes, which might be exactly what the Impaler wants. That's why I'm telling you right now, we are entering the most dangerous phase of this entire storyline. The emotional tension is becoming unbearable. The paranoia is suffocating. And every character feels like they're standing inches away from disaster. Leah is cornered. Jacob is desperate. Donnell is suspicious. Joey is hiding something. Ren is a ticking time bomb. And somewhere in the shadows, the Impaler is still watching, waiting, planning, ready to strike again. Everything feels like it's building toward one massive explosion that could destroy multiple lives at once. And if Leah truly disappears this week, then I honestly believe her final moments could trigger consequences nobody is prepared for. So buckle up, because if this hospital storyline explodes the way I think it will, we could be heading toward one of the most shocking and emotionally devastating twists this show has ever delivered. And trust me, when the Impaler finally reveals his next move, everything could change overnight. Don't miss what happens next, because this war is only just beginning.